Beading and more beading. Today on Beads, Baubles, and Jewels. Hi, I'm joined by Judi Hendrix of Fire Mountain Gems and Beads, and Judy's going to show us how to bead a cabochon. Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Okay, what are we going to do here?
We are going to take this Paua shell, and we're going to make a fantastic focal piece that we can make into a pin, a bracelet, whatever.
It's a beautiful shell,
Isn't
too.
that gorgeous? I love it. It's one of my favorite centerpieces. It's only found one place in the world, and that's in the seas of New Zealand, which I think is really cool. But it is a part of the abalone family. It's just the most colorful. They also dye these, which I think is really unique, that it still retains the color.
Okay, so how do we get started?
Yes, let's get started. What I did before I came, of course, is to take the shell, and I glued it to a piece of white felt with E6000 glue, and I let it set overnight so that it's nice and dry before we start. Then I took my beading needle and with a double thread, knotted it, came up through the back, and I string my beads so that it just lightly goes around the shell. It doesn't have to be perfect.
So you just sort of measure it.
Yeah, and because we can drop them off. It doesn't hurt anything.
Okay.
Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that these stay in place right where we put them. So what we're going to do is what I call is a couching technique, and it's actually an embroidery technique, but it's really a great thing to learn because it holds the beads in place instead of doing a back stitch.
Okay.
Now I'm going to show you on, these are green beads just like here, but these are a lot larger, and I've used orange thread so you can see it.
Yeah, so we're just showing it to you on this one just so that you can see it because it's such an intricate weave.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now I've threaded another needle. We're going to pretend that my double thread is hanging off, and I have another needle. And what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to slide those up, take this needle, and I'm going to cross over the double needle, the double thread, and go back down, and it holds those in place where it won't move. Okay,
so you would be doing that with the other beads.
Right, all the way around the cabochon till it's nice and secure, and they stay nice and tight. Nothing moves. I only do about 3 beads at a time because you don't want any gaps or whatever. So it makes it lay nice and flat.
So that's just in addition to gluing the cabochon. Now you're just making sure in lieu of gluing the beads, you're stitching the beads.
And it also sets off the cabochon. This is a great place to bring out a color that's maybe unusual in the shell.
Perfect.
So you'll do 2 rows of that, of that couching, which I have done here. You can see I finished the 2 rows, and we're going to do a fancy edge, but I need to put a nice backing on it before I do that. So what I want to do is I want to trim my felt. I always do this step from the back.
Oh, because you don't want to cut your stitching.
Because guess what? You get to start all over again.
Oh, fun.
So go ahead and trim it very close, as close as you can without clipping in. And then glue it back to your ultra suede, so we'll have a nice backing. We're actually going to sew through the ultra suede, but to hold it in place before I do that, with your E6000, let it set overnight.
So you're going to stitch off all of this, the original.
Right.
And then you'll have basically just on your ultra suede, whatever you use, just the cabochon with the beads on
Exactly.
it. Okay.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And let that set overnight again.
Okay.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to do our fancy edges.
That is fancy.
Isn't that fun? Yes. This one, you can do all kinds of edges, and it's the next row that's so important.
Okay.
So I feel...
yeah, let me take this. Now, just like what we did earlier by showing the larger beads because it's such an intricate weave, we're going to do that with this, correct?
Absolutely. And this is the most important row, and yet it's the row you see the least. Isn't that odd?
So basically you'll end up looking like this, but we're just doing it on the larger piece.
Right.
Okay, great.
What we're trying to create is an edge around that have these beads that stand up that I can work in.
Okay.
So I need to sew all my layers together and be able to work in that particular area. So all I do is I put 2 beads on my needle, and from the back, I'm going to come right straight through the ultra suede.
Gotcha.
Pull it up. Okay, now watch what happens. We'll pull this up, and with my needle and thread only, I'm going to come up from the bottom into that bead. And of course, there we go, I think. Isn't that funny? You can't get it when you need to.
But basically, it's just weaving it through so that it makes it stand up.
Actually. See, when it comes out of the top, it actually makes that bead stand up.
Gotcha.
This is my working row. So it's very important that those are as even as we can get them so that I can make my edging or so forth.
So you do that all the way around?
All the way around. So you'll have... pretend these are my couching rows. This is your shell, and then you have your stand-up row of beads.
Great, that seems pretty easy.
Yeah, it's very easy. It just, you don't see it. If you see the finished piece, you don't see it. And now we're going to do our fun part. We're going to do all that little edging that goes around the side.
Okay.
And I've started this so that I can show you both steps. And again, we're in we're in exactly the same place that we were before. We have the couched rows. We've done the white edging all the way around. And now I'm going to add my first row of my little scallops. Remember how I said we're going to go through those beads?
Right.
So like that? What you're going to do is you're going to put 4 beads on your needle. 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to skip a stand up, go into the next bead.
Okay.
Straight through.
And of course, when you're working with those tiny beads,
yes,
it's definitely you're going to be concentrating and making sure that everything weaves through perfectly.
Right.
Great.
This will go through. And see, it makes like a little scallop.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
And you'll go all the way around with that. And I'm going to do one more just so you can see. And remember now, you're skipping one because what makes the edge twist is because we have skipped it.
Gotcha.
So now we've closed it up. And I have actually left my bead, these kind of flop because they're so big.
Right.
But I've left it because it's very pretty. Isn't the scallop pretty? Just like that?
Pretty.
If you pull tight, they'll stay there.
So once you go all the way around, is this what we're going to end up with? Something similar to that?
Now we're going to twist it.
Oh,
now we're going to see. So we've only done the green. We're going to go in all those ones we skipped. All right, let's go into that one.
Okay.
And I'm going to pick up the next color. So I'm going to do this in orange so you can really see it.
Okay.
On the
basically,
bracelet.
you're just twisting it as you go through.
You know what? Actually, we're not.
Oh,
Watch
we're not?
we're going to go through the top, come back through the back, and go in the next skip up bead. The one we skipped.
Right.
And look what happens.
Oh, it's twisted.
Isn't that cool?
That's perfect.
Yeah, and you don't really even know that you're twisting, but because I went in the front and then around, we finished it off.
Perfect. And then, of course, here's what it'll end up looking like.
Right.
And then you can add some herringbone weave onto the end as well. Great. And then, of course, here's some other examples that Judi has brought with us that you can see they could be used as a pin or a bracelet or a necklace.
Right. And what's unique about the necklace is that it's flat on the back. You can use anything.
That's right. Any shell.
Any shell or anything.
Thank you so much, Judi. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Of course it would be. Thanks.
And that's it for today's program. This is the last program in this series, but don't worry, we already have a new season ready to go. Make sure and visit our website at beadsbaublesandjewels.com and let us know if there are any projects you'd like to see. We're always looking for ideas. Also, we're adding a great new feature on the next series. We've had a lot of email regarding our guest designers, so we'll be adding a weekly feature on some of the most innovative jewelry designers in the country, from glass bead artists to metal workers, beaders to fiber artists. If they make fabulous jewelry, we want to introduce them to you, our viewers. So hope to see you soon with more education, inspiration, and expression with beads, baubles, and jewels.